Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am so excited. I get to put in a 10K placeholder in my emergency fund. So to get that out, 10K, Okay, so we're doing an unstuff and condensing. Well, actually I should just keep that to the side. I got 10K in my emergency fund. I can't believe it. I didn't think I would reach it this soon into the year. But so you see 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000. 500. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means I now have $10,000 in my emergency account. It feels crazy to have all those placeholders and all that cash now just be 10,000. So I'm going to zero this out because I just keep track of the cash. I guess to give the tips to save that much money, I guess the way I did it, so first of all, sticking to a budget, that's essential. Because if you don't stick to a budget, you're not gonna have any money left to save. So, and the way that it was easier for me to stick to a budget has been cash stuffing. But honestly, as long as you decide how much you're gonna spend towards certain things and keep a goal of how much you're gonna save per month, you will eventually get there. I'm also going to unstuff right now online shopping because I purchased a new binder for my system. So you have to set a budget so that you know how much you're going to spend and have a goal and set aside how much you're going to save every month. So that's number one, is cash stuffing and being motivated, having goals, and sticking to it. This is, of course, easier said than done, obviously. But I'm just going through and I'm going to see what I can condense. I'm not going to condense family. Well, what do I have in family? I just have 2 5s. We might come back to family. So that's number one. And number two is, when I was living with my family, my biggest tip to you is if you're going to live with your family for a while, my tip to you is to take full advantage of your privileges and situation. When I was living with my parents, I made sure to take advantage that I was not paying rent or other bills. And I understand fully that not everyone, when they live with their folks, has that benefit. Some people have to pay some kind of rent or have to pay some kind of bills. I was very fortunate in that my folks were willing to tell me, like, hey, just save up to move out and we'll cover everything else. I will say at first I took advantage in the way that I was like, I can spend my money to get the things I want now because I won't be able to in the future, which was not actually true, because with a proper budget, you can buy the things that you want. So I did kind of at first take advantage in the wrong way. I took advantage in the wrong way at first. But then once it became clear that BB and I were moving out, my perspective shifted, and instead of spending money, I set a budget for how much I was going to have once I moved out, what I was going to have after rent and what I was going to have after rent. And instead of just spending money, saving what I didn't spend, I spent what I didn't save. So instead of, spending on all kinds of stuff, I saved rent every month for a couple of months. I think for like two or so months. And I'm gonna leave this how it is. So I saved rent instead of having to pay it. And that's so I saved rent for 2 or 3 months, and then I cash stuffed. Once I moved out, I was able to cash stuff $1,000. The other thing, my other tip is when you get your tax return, this only has 40. And this is going to be, condense this. My other tip to you is when you come into some money, like when you get a tax return, don't just spend it, save some of it. And what I did was for 2 years actually in a row, I set aside some of that money from my tax return and saved it in my emergency fund instead. So to boil down my tips, I cash stuffed and budgeted. I took advantages of the privileges that I had and made the most of situations where I could save money instead of spending it. And I set aside money, like if I came into money, I set aside some of that and saved it. Now I did, also when I got my tax return, I did spend on some things. But ultimately, my goal was to save an emergency fund because I knew that once I moved out, I was going to be responsible. I was going to be responsible for more things, and things might come up. And, I am low income, so it's not like I would make up money if I didn't have some set aside. It wasn't like I was going to make a lot that month that would be able to, in addition to my regular expenses, cover an emergency. So 2, 3, 4, 5. There is that. So those are my tips, and that's how I was able to save $10,000 in the scope of 3 years, or 2 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm gonna leave that. So what's my plan now that I have an emergency, 3 months of expenses? Well, I have to pay my boyfriend back for my half of furniture that we bought for the apartment. So that's number one. So instead of saving $100 a month towards emergency, I'm going to divide it where 50 of those dollars is going to go towards my 100 envelopes and 50 is going to go towards paying back my boyfriend. Because not only am I cash stuffing to pay him back, I'm also covering his half of our shared bills, so internet and electric. So I have more payments going to him than $50 a week. But he did say that he wants me to prioritize some of my savings goals, because the goal with my 100 envelopes is to add it towards, probably some of it will still go towards emergency. I'm still going to cash stuff some money towards my emergency every week. I'll probably do more like $5 though instead, so that the money can go towards my other savings that I need to cover. Long-winded explanation, but now I can finally dip into my stash cash here that I've been saving. So with withdrawing the $50, I'll be able to cash stuff envelope 98 actually, because I have some 20s, I have a 5, and I definitely have 4 1s here. So next week I'll be able to cash stuff envelope 98, and I'll be able to really bang out some of these higher envelopes. But that is it for today's video. Unstuffing, condensing, and I saved $10,000. So to count the money that I have, just to make sure that it's $560. 100, 200, 300, 50, 150, 20, 40, 60, 10, 20, 30, 40, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's all there. So I will take this money to the bank. $60 will replenish my checking account from withdrawing to pay for the extra binder, and $500 will go in my emergency savings account. I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that my tips, were useful. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm doing a giveaway at 500 subscribers. We're so close. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.